Hey YouTube, we're gonna talk about fire cards today. Here's the Fire Spirit. There it is. Yeah, you want me to edit that?
Yeah. Did you want to see some fire animations?
All right. So first card we actually have, other than the Fire Spirit, and we always start with the starter deck cards, just so you guys know, and then we'll move on to the actual case, the box cards. So this is it's a Regalia item Ranger Bullet Penetrator round. For fire, it's a 0 cost, 0 power. Normal load stuff, loadable into a gun, class bonus level 2+. On attack, this attack gains combat damage dealt by this attack is unpreventable. So 0 cost, 0 power, but it is allowing the attack to be unpreventable damage.
Sure.
Big deal for Ranger, especially going to level 3. We're trying to do those huge swings where they can't just be blocked. There's a gun, I believe, that gives True Sight.
Yep. Yeah, and there is. Yep.
Was there another ability that gave True Sight, or was it just...
There's basically a way for Ranger to make sure an attack connects through everything but Peaceful Reunion.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I think it's really solid. If you're running a bullet, it is you don't get the extra power, but it's unpreventable. So if you need to push that damage...
If we're seeing a lot of, Resolute Standstill and things that are going to subtract attacks, Veiling Breezes, a lot of wind. If we see, a lot of wind, because now we have even more, Veiling Breeze-esque stuff. It's a very good card because it gets around all of that damage mitigation stuff, right? So
I would go between a 4 and a 5 for this card.
Wow.
Because honestly, I think that Ranger without that is really rough. I don't think you can do a bullet strategy without that card.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
I think it's, for me, I definitely think it'd be more of a 3 because even though Varuk had that same kind of effect, there was a lot of fire decks that didn't even utilize it.
For sure, but this is a card that you can bring out for free with your leader ability.
It is true.
And that potentially your whole strategy revolves around.
Yeah.
Potentially.
So you give it
I give it a 4.
I think, I'm going to give it a 4. I think it is one of the bullets you're definitely putting in a Fire Ranger deck. Because you need to push damage, and the last bit of damage you're going to put in, you don't want it to be blocked at all. So
for me, I totally see it potentially being a 4. It just depends on where the format's at. If it's a bunch of ally beats decks and a bunch of Tony, we're probably not going to see as much. But if we're seeing a lot on this slower, more controlling damage mitigation, looking for floodgates type of decks, then it's an absolute include in everything you do. So, and even honestly, even if it's not included in your main deck, it might be a card you put in your side. It's that good. So
So wait, hold on. The leader can't bring this one out, right?
The level 2 brings.
Level 2 brings one.
From Regalia deck though, right?
Yeah.
Is this Regalia deck?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Regalia.
Yeah.
All right. Next card we have Airship Engineer. I don't know. So looking at the cards on this, none of the cards are loading, so I don't know if that's in there. But Ally Ranger Human, 2 cost, 1/2. Class bonus has range 2, and then on enter, if you control a distant unit, draw a card into your memory. So 2 cost 1/2 could be a 2 cost 3/2, depending if it's distant.
Which is crazy.
And then if you have another distant unit, this draws you a card on enter. Into memory, sorry. That's pretty good.
Yeah, the fact that it replaces itself, obviously you know how strong that is in this game already. And then the fact that anytime you see any of these little, I call them weenies, right? These 1/2s for 2s, stuff like that. When they have play later on, like this one, if you have something that's distant, it still is yo, I'm getting this down, plus replacing itself, and then also I can swing for 3 if I do give it range, or give it distant. I think this card's very strong.
Yep, especially because it can go with any distant unit, not just ally. So it's pretty easy to trigger this, I think. And then it's a really, really high attack for no reserve cost, really. When you get into that evasive step or whatever that card is, where it's just everything means distant and stuff like that. I think it's really good. I'd probably give it a 4.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4 as well. It's not the early game card, right? It can't be early game. It is that mid game to possibly late game, depending on how your deck is formatted, card that is really solid, really solid.
Yeah, I'll also give it a 4. I think it's very good. Any card that has play early if you absolutely need it to, because it can trade really effectively. So if you have a card that can give it distant and you have a pesky Gildas on the other side that you have to deal with, this is a way that you can potentially do that.
Yeah. All right, next up is Automaton Bomber, Ally Ranger Automaton with reserve cost 3, power 1, and life 2. So 3 costs 1/2, but it has range 4 and class bonus floating memory. So if you're a ranger, you have that floating memory. So could be a 5/2 for 3.
Wow.
Depending on how easy you can get that distant onto it. and has floating memory.
You know, I don't know how many slow Fire Ranger decks there will be. If there are, this one might not find its way into it, but as far as aggressive fire element cards go in Ranger, this card is kind of bonkers. Like, if you can make that, like, it really does depend how consistently, and it's going to take testing and figuring out how, but if this is something that's like, yo, I'm guaranteeing that I'm going to be able to swing for 5 with this at some point. It's very good. I mean, this is, think about it, like, Blazing Bowman made it into a lot of decks, especially early on in FTC, even just removal. But aggressive decks, he was like an auto include because it's 4 damage for 3, but you had to get rid of a fire card. This is 5 damage for 3, and you don't have to get rid of a fire card.
Yeah, you're kind of getting the card.
Yeah, and if he dies, he's floating. So like, and he has 2 health, whereas Bowman has 1, I believe, right? So like, he passes the Dream Fairy check as far as getting attacked into. So.
It's a solid card. It's funny. I keep seeing all these Ranger cards like this is so strong, and we see distant cards, things that give distant, but I'm every single time I'm worried. Is there enough distant? Is there enough distant to really make this happen? And I'm assuming there is because they felt that's the whole Ranger archetype is Ranger distant.
I'm gonna give this a 3 just because I don't think distant will be easy enough to make this card crazy good.
Sure.
But if distant is easy enough to obtain, then obviously this starts to get into that 4 range for sure. But I'm giving it a 3 because I think realistically a lot of the time you're just not going to want to play this card.
So far, I don't know all the fire cards that give distant. I know there's a couple norm cards that give distant.
And some
Umbra.
And some Umbra. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of this in terms of an aggressive deck.
This is an auto include in Polcock, dude. 4 of. Polcock it. 5 damage.
How much floating memory do you need in Polcock? You don't really care about that? You think?
No.
I don't think. Maybe
I
just
think I'm
ignore
just
it.
trying to smack him, bro.
Sure.
I don't know. So my
fair.
thought process is like Flame Rune. He's a 2/2 for 3 that gets played in every red deck that can play it, basically. And this is a 1/2 for 3 that can be a 5/2 for 3 that also gives you that floating.
Honestly, that's a really good.
But I still think it's a 3 for me.
Yeah, I will give it a 3.
He's not going to be in all Fire Ranger decks.
Sure.
But he has the potential to be really good in aggressive decks.
Next card is Force Load. Action Ranger skill, reserve cost 2, and slow speed. And this is one of the cards that every single wind, water, and fire all have a similar card like this, where you choose a fire or normal element bullet card from your material deck with memory cost 0 and load it into target gun weapon you control. That's it.
It's the worst one out of the 3, right?
Because
the green one can be for free.
And waters, rest them? No.
I don't remember what waters was, but I feel like it was like, all right, that's okay. And this one is just like, pay 2 to beseech a bullet. That's it.
Fire or norm element bullet card from your deck with 0 cost. Yeah.
But maybe that's because if they made the fire one too powerful, fire was just too strong of a card or something. Or fire element was too strong.
Because it's not a bad card. Like, the effect's
Mm.
still inherently fine.
Yeah.
You know, being able to not have to materialize a bullet, so like maybe we can level up, right?
Yeah.
Which then allows us to lose the lineage to bring out our gun and then cheat a bullet out.
You know, and you have to think about this card as instead of think of this as an attack card.
Yeah.
Because you can't use attack cards with guns.
Yep.
So this is a 2-cost attack card.
That could bring out the unpreventable damage bullet.
Unpreventable damage. There's one that just deals 2 damage. It has an upside. I mean, you're talking about if you're playing Polcock, which you haven't gotten to yet, but he has range and has a specific gun that he goes with, and I mean, there's definitely a way to get this to be pretty good. So.
The big thing that you guys got to remember with Force Load too, though, is you can load a bullet and then force another bullet into it.
Can you?
Yeah, that's what this card. That's the Force Load behind it. I forgot about that. I remember somebody talking about that. Oh. So like if we load it, let's say we load the unpreventable or like a non-unpreventable one that just has damage in it. Force Load not only materializes it, it loads it, and so that's where like that Force Load comes from. So you can put. Oh wait, what does this say?
Weapon is used for an attack. No, that's not it. All was just as all loaded cards are used for the attack.
In the case of Force Load, it allows more than one bullet card to be loaded and once and fired at the same time.
Force Load lets you use multiple bullets in attack. Wow. Okay.
This is actually insane.
That's a lot better.
So grass and water ones we probably should have rated higher too.
Well, I think this is the only one that forces it. I think the other ones maybe bring them out.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this one actually
Oh,
loads
so this
it
is why it
instantly.
costs 2 and like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so winds it can be free, but it's not gonna.
It brings out immaterial
Yeah.
bullets. Specifically.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Okay, much better. Actually insane because you can get I think there's a 0 cost 2 damage bullet, and you can also do the unpreventable damage one too.
What's really cool is like, so if you go like wind spirit and then you make your way into Polcock, you could like use the green and the red materialization. So you go like double bullets for 2, and like that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I still think it's probably a 3.
I think that's
Yeah.
but I think there's definitely some decks that will abuse that card.
it has a very good playability that you can do with it.
Yeah.
So. Next card is Incendiary Shot, item ranger bullet, 1 cost, 2 power bullet. It has obviously load, the rest tap and load it, and then on hit deal 2 damage to the hit unit. So it's like deals 2, and if it hits them, it deals another 2.
I mean, that's kind of crazy because with force load now, you can load this in, then force load in the unpreventable. Now they're taking unpreventable damage and 4 damage from this one for just you paying 1.
5 from the gun, almost guaranteed.
Yeah,
So it has more, and any other ranged or whatever distant effects. So honestly,
I want to put force load back to 4 for me.
Sure. It's a good card. And I think that this actually is a pretty solid bullet as well.
yeah.
I'm going to give this a 3 because, like, the reason that I think this is good is because of the unpreventable bullet.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Without the unpreventable bullet, this would be
force
like
load.
in force load. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Because I think you probably run the unpreventable bullet no matter what fire deck you're in, Fire Ranger. But I don't think you run this in every single one.
I think that even has more play in like a more controlling, like
Yeah,
slower deck to
right,
help
yeah.
you trade
Yep.
board, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
Kills a Lancelot with its level bonus.
Yep,
I
yep.
talk about Lancelot a lot on these, but
do.
it's a 5 health dude, man, and I think he might be relevant. Who knows? But,
Yeah.
Oh, this one's
I'll give it. I'll give it a 3.
Sure, threes across the board.
Yep.
Rocket jump. So
Yes.
action ranger skill reaction. 5 cost fast speed though. Class most of this card costs 2 less to activate, so it's actually 3 if you're a ranger. Target unit becomes distant, and if that unit is defending, deal 4 damage to its attacker. So
Super cool.
a Lorraine attacks your champion face. You can use this on your champion, and they gain distant, and then you deal 4 damage back to that Lorraine. That was the
Or you put down their 3-drop 1/2 floating memory. They attack into it with a sword, and then you go, okay, that thing's going to hit you for 5 now because it's distant.
Yeah.
You're going to take another 4 from this effect,
Yeah.
and you just gave me a floating memory card.
Yeah. Take 9,
kinda
I get a floating memory.
Kind of insane.
The art is Polcock.
Just flying.
Just so you know. Which
Everything
is,
I've ever wanted.
Which is Ranger skill reaction, and his ability is
Yeah.
reduce a skill reaction, or Ranger skill reaction, or
Yeah.
Ranger reaction.
Yep.
Playing this for 2 feels really good.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
super strong.
That being said, I think it's a 3. It's not going to be played in every deck. There's no way it's played in every deck.
Yeah. I think if you build Polcock, you put this in everyone. But
Sure. But I just meant like Ranger decks.
yeah, I guess I give it a 3, but I give it a 4 in Polcock decks.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 3. Overall, just because, like Isaac said, it's not going to make it into every deck.
Yeah.
But, man, I feel like it could. It's pretty strong. And doing 4 damage, like, if anybody's trying to trade into anything you have, kills that stuff, which is super cool. And then, you know, the potential to make something get big because it's distant now, and then you kill the thing that tried to attack it. If they want to swing into it more stuff, then it's like, yo, because it does that damage. This card will resolve before the attack damage. So if something has 4 health or less, it's dying before it hits it. So
I think it's a 5 in Polcock decks, actually. But yeah, probably a 3, because paying 2 for it is insane.
Yeah.
Paying 3 for it, yeah.
Speaking of which, Polcock, whoever named this, is the man of the hour.
Polcock Bombastic Shot.
Sorry, I didn't give the full
he's a
name.
legend, bro.
Champion Ranger Human, costs 2, so it's your level 2, obviously, and has 22 life. Range 2, so it has an innate range 2, which is sick. Ranger reaction cards you activate cost 1 less to activate. That's just flat out, doesn't matter the color, doesn't matter.
Which is very important because this is one of those lineage break champions that you could start with a different spirit and unlock the fire element later.
Yeah. We talked about it in like our wind one. I think there's some people getting, I think one danger of all 3 of the element cards or whatever is getting too caught up on using them just as an additional turn on my other colors, whatever, other element.
As a prismatic deck.
Yeah. or as they're using their level 2 as like a level 3 champion. It can be used that way, but thinking there's many cases where his ability, unlike probably Nico, is just really solid.
Yep.
All on its own.
Yep.
Stuff costing 1 less forever is insane. Him getting +2 anytime he's distant is insane.
And we've seen a lot of really strong reaction cards.
Yeah.
This isn't like, oh, well, this like type of card that you don't really use very often is going to cost 1 less. It's like, no, you might have 12 plus of those cards in your deck. Easy.
Yeah, Polcock's good.
Yeah.
I think out of the like lineage break, he excites me the most.
Yeah,
I think
really.
he has. I think it's hard because Vanitas is like
really
very
cool.
good.
It's really cool. But I think he has like the most standalone
Yeah.
best power.
Sure.
Vinicius,
Reducing cost is super strong. Like you think in other games, like I know you played Hearthstone, so think about like Sorcerer's Apprentice got banned because it made spells cost 1 less when it was in play. So like you think it doesn't sound that crazy out the gates.
Yeah.
But like as time goes on too, and potentially more things to make things cost, I guarantee you there's ways to break this card.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give him a 4.
I'm going to give him a 4.
I'm going to 4 for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out.
I think you're gonna play against Polcock.
Yeah. I mean, like, think about Rocket Jump. Literally just that one
nuts.
card. If you play that for 2, you're going to be like, dude, I'm so glad this is my champion.
There's norm cards where they cost like 1 less if you're a ranger, and then if you're Polcock, it costs 0 or something like that. I'm like, okay, that's insane.
Yeah, it is.
So next up, we have Bombard Flare Cannon. So this is kind of Polcock's weapon, which is Regalia Weapon, Ranger Gun. It costs 1 for memory cost. Has 1 power and 4 durability. Really cool thing about all the guns is that they have so much durability in comparison to swords.
Yeah.
I do like that. Polcock bonus. So only he gets this effect, which is on attack. If there is a fire element card in this attacker's intent, deal 2 damage to each unit the defending player controls. It's a little board clear, and by attacker's intent, it means anything that is used with that attack, if that makes sense.
Basically a gun.
Bullet.
Gun, a bullet.
A modifier to that.
I don't think the gun counts, right? I think you have to have a bullet.
Do you?
I don't think the gun counts as in your intent zone.
I think it does.
Because wouldn't this just trigger it every single time then?
I think that's the point.
Oh.
But maybe we're wrong.
Hey everyone, it's Editor Isaac here. So effectively, we're wrong. We're way wrong, actually. Things like bombard flare cannons, guns, and swords and weapons in general don't actually move into the intent zone. It's more like they're used or interacted with in the intent zone. So if we had thought about that for a second, how the card is even worded, it makes sense that it wouldn't actually go there. But for all intents and purposes, the only thing that currently do that are bullets and attack cards. So in this case, if you used a fire element bullet with bombard flare cannon, then the effect will go off. Everything you're about to hear us say after the fact here is about intent zone is just completely wrong, and we apologize for that, but I wanted to let you guys know. Thanks. Bye.
If there's a fire element card on, so everything that is that attacks, so yes, it does count, because if you attack with Lorraine and you use a sword, that's part of her intent. The sword is part of that. At least that's how it was explained to me.
I thought you had to use fire bullets.
No, I think you can just swing and have 2 damage.
That's insane.
That's some
but
Polcock.
you can't swing without a bullet, just so everyone knows.
Yeah, you can't swing a gun without a bullet.
But this is also just this gun doesn't need to be used. So can you use Flame Sweep to cleave for 1, and then this is just going to trigger because there is or is it because it's on attack?
No, on attack.
It's on attack with this gun. Okay,
Insane. I mean, you're going to play this on Polcock. I mean, like if you're playing Polcock, you're playing this card. So
yeah, I mean, it's a 4 out of 4 for Polcock.
Yeah.
Like there's 5 out of 5 for Polcock even. Like,
yeah.
There's no world where you play Polcock and you're not playing Bombard.
Having a guaranteed cleave, even if it's fairly small, is crazy every turn.
And it's important to note it's not attack damage. It's non-attack damage.
Which is crazy.
Part of the cleave.
Yep.
And
so it gets the dude. Yeah, it's kind of nuts because but think about how weird this is going to be, because like for instance, so let's say we attack with our Polcock, right? And they have a stalwart shield mate. I have to target that with the attack.
Correct.
Yeah.
So like even though I'm going to blow it up with this, my attack was still targeted at it. So it is going to still eat my attack.
Your attack's going to fizzle.
Yes. So it won't even break. I won't lose the durability or anything.
That's weird.
But it will kill the 2 health guys that are there. So it's kind of interesting, kind of a cool little interaction there.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
This card's insane. Polcock.
4 or 5, but like no other class is really going to use it.
Which would make it like a 2.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's insane.
I'll give it 4. Okay. Hey, picture loaded.
Ooh, that looks nice.
Forge Light Scepter. 1 cost regalia item, cleric scepter. Class bonus, this card costs 1 less than materialize, so it costs 0 if you're cleric. At the beginning of each opponent's end phase, if that player has an odd amount of cards in their memory, deal 2 unpreventable damage to their champion.
I love this card.
This is a really cool card.
I love that it is a one. So it's a 1 cost
Or free
item.
for cleric.
But it will keep its 1 cost regardless if it's free.
Yes,
which is a
big deal.
huge
Yeah.
thing
Huge
because
deal.
you can't blow up a 0 cost
Yes.
item or
Yeah.
regalia. Unless they have to kill it with something that can do a 1 or more or whatever,
Yeah.
right? So being able to this is a win con in its own. In a very
yeah.
slow deck. Even not even this is good just in a tempo deck too, but like in a very slow deck that you're setting yourself up. You're
Even in an aggressive deck, you don't have anything to bring out, and if you're playing like aggressive cleric, you just bring it out, and if you get 2 or 4 damage off of it,
It's
4
huge.
is like nice.
Yeah.
Anything more than that, you're
that's
like,
think about that. That's technically, even if you just got 2, it's kind of like bringing out Sword of Seeking with Lorraine.
Yeah.
It's like the same concept.
seriously, it's. I mean, would you play a card in your deck, a material deck that just said deal 2 damage to your champion, to the enemy champion if they weren't
Unpreventable.
if they
Yeah.
weren't paying attention to how
Yeah.
they played?
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably would.
100%. So yeah, that's definitely.
It's not going to be as easy to play around this as some people might think.
Yeah,
right.
for
like
sure.
You can't play around it sometimes. You're
Yeah,
just like,
right.
Man.
Sometimes you're forced to have an odd amount in your memory.
Yeah, jeez, that's crazy.
And I like
Think about Windex that just want to put 3 cards down and then
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't do anything exciting, you just bring this out, you go pass, and they're forced to waste Zephyr or something.
Yeah.
If they don't want to, they would still take damage
like
of that. So it's like
you
awkward.
can use this with Grail.
Mm-hmm.
Like Grail, this is one of those cards where Grail gets a little bit better because of this card specifically.
Yep.
Because like the timing has to be correct when you're going to bring it out. You
Yeah.
have to say before end step. You can't
Yep.
say during end step or at end step.
Yep.
Because then it's already in end step. It won't do that damage. So you have to say before end step.
And they would have the chance
They
to
would.
play something, but they've already done their whole turn. It's going to be
Yeah.
really hard for them to interact with it at that point.
Cool card.
I like it.
I don't think it's broken. I don't
No.
think it'll be in every deck.
No.
But
It is strong. And I think you will see it more than just reading it and being like, oh, this card's cool. I think it'll get played more than you think. So I'm
Yeah.
going to give it a 3.
I'll give it 3 as well, for sure.
I don't think it's
3.
like, I could see it being a 2.
2, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I think that it's better than it seems.
I think, yeah. Yep.
This is also a really cool one, I think, too. Heatwave Generator. 1 cost regalia item, guardian device. Class bonus, this card costs 1 less to materialize. So 0 if you're guardian. At the beginning of your recollection phase, target ally you control gets +1 until the end of turn. So it's that.
Ornamental Greatsword?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But every turn it's happening.
Yeah.
It adds up.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's very smart they didn't put this in wind.
yeah. I know. I think it's a really, really solid card. It's not one of those breaks the deck even.
Mm-hmm.
It's one someone can play around pretty easily too. Like I'm just gonna kill off that little 0 attacker or 1 attacker unit. Because
I just love how this makes his tokens just so much better.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. If you're playing tokens or playing these little board things or even just units that are like decent sized bodies that are like 1/4s, they're like it's annoying.
Yeah.
Like that it's only a 1/4. Giving a 1 to that every turn because it's probably going to survive because it has that 4 health is a big deal. So I like this. It can just be played in not Guardian too.
Yep. It just
that-
costs 1 that way.
It just costs 1. That being said, I think it takes a very specific deck that's going to utilize it well. I think there's probably 1, maybe 2
Yeah.
Tenorus decks mainly that are going to be utilizing this. Not that there won't be other decks maybe later on, but initially for sure.
Really strong card, but it's not going to be played everywhere. So I
Yeah.
think that's a 3.
I think it's a 3.
3.
It's almost borderline 2, but not because it's bad.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
because it's support is weird for it.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to click on the next card. There you go. Airship Engineer. So 4 cost, 2/3, ally, ranger, human, class bonus, ranged 4. On attack, you may banish 3 fire element cards from your graveyard. If you do, Airship Engineer becomes distant. So this is one of those strong self-distant ranger cards.
Yeah.
This one has range 4. So this is a 4 cost, 6 3. If you have 3, if your graveyard isn't turned off from
Yeah.
Vilifying Lantern. But, I mean, this is starting to push that finally where I feel like 4 stats, or for a 4 cost reserve cost, the stats is actually kind of lining up really, really well.
4 cost is a really hard card to make in Grand Archive.
Yeah.
There's not many cards that have 4 costs that are worth playing.
Yeah.
This does push that.
Yeah, and I think that something that's very important to remember is even if your graveyard is turned off, she still does, as long as your ranger, have that range 4. So
It's still possible to make her discard.
yeah,
Right, very
she just can't do it herself.
Yep.
Yeah, which is pretty fine.
And the 3 health is a big deal.
Yeah.
Yep.
Going from 2 to 3 is such a big difference.
Polka can't just kill it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going from 3 to 4 is another whole thing in itself.
Yeah.
But
And going from 1 to 2 is big too. Yeah.
But this is where that break really starts to happen. I feel like from 2 to 3. So, it's not a 4-star though.
No, I'll give it a 3.
I'll give it a 3 as well. It's a solid card. And again, this all just hinges on how easy it is to make that stuff distant.
Yeah.
How much people are disrespecting fire, I guess is
Yeah.
the best way to put it. Not caring about graveyard stuff too
Sure.
much. If people really aren't paying attention to that in any point during the ALC meta, this card's value goes up quite a bit.
Yeah. For me, I'm more on the 2. I think the card's really strong. I think the big thing to me is the 4 cost is a lot.
Yeah.
And when you're thinking about how you shape your turn, you really can only play 1 card most times when you play a 4 drop.
Yes,
Right?
for sure.
So that being the only card, it can be really cool. It can just swing for 6 if you have a ton of fire cards in your yard. So like, I see the power behind it.
You know, I think I give it a higher value in specifically because of Polka.
Sure.
Because your reaction ranger cards cost 1 less, so
Yeah.
it's easier to give her distant or save her on your
Sure.
opponent's turn.
Sure.
Sure.
She's definitely better in a Polcock deck
Yeah.
than anything else. But yeah, I'm going to give her a 2 personally.
Yeah, fair. Next card we have is Attune with Flames. We talked about this card on our on Patreon. So this is an Action Guardian skill craft. Reserve costs 6 and has fast speed. Class bonus of this card costs 2 less, so if your Guardian costs 4. Activate this card only during your opponent's recollection phase. Target Guardian weapon you control gets +5 power until the end of your next turn.
This is a fire card?
This is a fire card, as all of these are.
It's not Neos? The card seems kind of nuts.
So, 4 cost, fast. Give your sword +5, but only on your opponent's turn.
And then it stays until your
And it stays until your turn.
So it's like you basically are saying,
You're
here it is. What
Yeah.
you going to do about it?
yeah. Can you kill my sword, or can you get rid of it for the
Yeah.
like Zephyr or whatever? This card, I think we talked about this.
Yes.
Gets better with Regalia hate, or with people not respecting Regalia, and just not playing any kind of Regalia hate,
Yeah, and as long as you dodge wind.
or just win. Yeah.
I am giving this card a 2, and that is the highest I would give it. I would actually maybe give it a 1.
I'm going to give it a 2. There is a world where this becomes nuts and it's broken, because people aren't respecting it, and there's some weird combo of buffing your sword and playing some kind of like I'm thinking of a really weird deck right now, but that's why I'm giving it a 2, where you could use it with a water fire deck.
You can also use this in a Lorraine Warrior deck, where you're materializing the Guardian weapon, giving it +5, and then using Rending to deal like 24 damage.
Sure.
I just think
even that is like,
I think that this card, if you just rush Neos instead, you can do what this card is trying to do better.
yeah.
So that's why I'm giving this, honestly, probably a 1. I think I'm going to change it from a 2 to 1. I think that card's actually garbage.
I think I would give it a 2. I think that sometimes a deck that isn't forced to go to level 3, being able to go, hey, I have 3 allies on board, just pass, by the way, kill my allies and kill my sword.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And if you do kill my allies, great, you swept them, I'm coming in for 9 with my
It's
sword.
just such a big cost.
It is a lot.
Such a big cost.
2, what'd you say?
2. No, he said 1.
I'm saying 1.
1, 2,
okay.
2.
Yeah.
Blazing Charge. So 2 cost, 3
this
power,
card's cool.
attack Guardian Sword. Class bonus, Blazing Charge gets +2, so it becomes a 2 cost, deal 5 damage. On attack, though, until the beginning of your next turn, if damage would be dealt to your champion, they take that much damage +1 instead. I've seen cards like this in like every game.
Yeah.
And I hate playing them.
This to me is a card that you play a 1 or 2 copy of in your deck, and is when you know that you're going for the swing.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna win the game or you're gonna lose the game. And this is how you're gonna try to win it.
I like 4 of these out your board against decks that don't play allies.
Sure.
Like, like I'm gonna come in. Sure, if you're gonna hit me and deal damage to me, it's not gonna be from multiple things. It's gonna be like from one.
You're true. I mean, play this on turn 2
like,
against a ride.
Remember early on, like every deck we built, you basically, if you didn't play Inspiring Call, you sided for the Rye matchup, like just because it was better than like your defensive cards. Yeah. This kind of has that same vibe, except for on steroids, because like if you're a Guardian, it's 5 for 2, right? So
it's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then again, if you play, if this card is in your deck and you use it against the...
I'm just going to I know I'm going to somehow mess up. And this card's going to be the thing that kills me.
Sure.
I personally will not be playing this card.
Sure.
Because I know I'm going to misuse it. Because, hey, 5 damage for 2 sounds great. And I'm going to want to use it early and I'm going to mess up.
Yeah.
So,
I'll give it a 3.
I'll give it a 3 as well.
It goes in aggro Tony.
Dude, aggro Tony is kind of looking thick. I don't know, man. So this card's pretty good.
I'll give it a 3.
If you want to buy your shirtless Tony cards, check out TrueChampionGaming.com, where we'll have all ALC pre-orders up.
Looking thick.
Well,
or orders, because this is probably going up after.
We'll have orders.
Yeah,
we'll see when this comes up. Bottled Forge Light item, cleric potion, 3 cost. Brew, 1 razor vine and 1 herb, so not the worst to try to brew.
Pretty easy.
On enter, if Bottled Forge Light was brewed, deal 2 damage to target unit. Sacrifice it, deal 2 damage to target unit.
I like this card. I think this is kind of like a... It's not exactly like an Incendiary Fractal, but it's got that same vibe, and I think that this one is a little better as far from the removal side of things, and also because how many times is Incendiary Fractal just absolutely dead? Just there is no reason for it to be in your hand. You drew it after your level 3. There's literally no reason for it, and then you hit this card. You're like, okay, at worst, this is I'm going to do 2 damage to your face. At mid, I'm going to do 4 damage to your face. At best, you're killing either a 4 health minion or 2 2-health minions, or finishing off
for free.
Yeah, which is pretty strong.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play this card unless I had herbs.
Yeah, for sure.
Sure, and I totally get that one, because you want to get the extra damage.
I'm giving it a 3 because it's easier to bring out, but not super easy. So I do think you have to be like this fire deck that is like changing herbs and stuff like that. So I'm not sure if it's as simple as like, oh, I'm playing aggro cleric, I'm going to play this card. You know what I mean?
Sure. I think that it definitely has a lot of potential. For me personally, it's one of the I think it's honestly a potion that I'm pretty excited about.
For sure. I just don't know how well potion decks in Fire are going to do.
Sure. Yeah. And if they do, I think it will be played in most. So I'll give it a 3 to be safe, but I almost gave it a 4.
Sure.
Because I think it's that powerful of an effect. So
next up is Crimson Tier. So this had a CSR, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Spoiled very early.
Yeah. So 3 cost 2/2. Unique ally assassin automaton. Level 1+. So this is neither of these. There's 2 effects. Neither of them are class bonus. Level 1+. As long as Crimson Tier is attacking or retaliating against a human, Crimson Tier gets +1. So all champions, I believe, are human.
Yeah.
So this is a 3/2 against the attacking phase if you're level 1+. Level 2+, whenever you activate a reaction card that targets Crimson Tier, draw a card into your memory. Then if it's not your turn, wake up Crimson Tier.
Polcock continues to get better.
Yes.
They're given... They've never given level 2 champs that are lineage break support, like this kind of support.
Right.
Like... In the past, we have the Tristans, we have the Allens. There's no direct support for these guys, really.
Merlin level 2 was literally unplayable until it got a level 3.
Yeah. And we just keep getting more cards that make Polcock viable.
They've tried to give Mordred some support.
Yeah,
sure.
Aaron Knight.
Sure, buddy.
Yeah, specifically Aaron Knight and nothing else. It's really good. I could see you playing it. Honestly, this is one of those cards, if you're playing Fire, it probably goes in a lot of decks, especially aggressive decks if you're just going face.
Yeah.
Because a 3 cost 3/2 is...
It's very good.
It's fun.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So it's going in multiple decks. It's not going in every Fire deck, but it's going in multiple Fire decks.
Easy 3.
So I want to say 4.
I'm giving this a 4.
Sure.
I think this is like the most
Sneaky
I've ever disagreed with your ratings.
Yeah.
We're only ever like 1 off from each other, but still, like it's funny. It feels like most cards we're off.
Yeah, that one. Well, The thing that I'm most excited for in that card, and the reason I gave it a 3 out of 4, is I think its most powerful thing is its second ability.
Yeah.
But how often in an aggressive red deck am I level 2 and able to use it?
That's fair.
But if I am, I guess I'm on Polcock. I'm freaking using it.
Yeah,
So in Polcock, it's a 4. But when we're talking about it getting played in tons of different fire strategies, probably a 3 for me.
I guess I've also been very off of Isaac, too. You guys have been more similar, and I've been the oddball out.
Sure.
Next card we have is Excoriate. We also talked about this on our Patreon. Actually, mage spell, 4 cost, slow speed. Level 2+. This card costs 1 less to activate, so it costs 3. That's it. Destroy target ally with reserve cost 4. I thought I read that already.
Yeah.
Destroy target ally with reserve cost 4 or less.
It's a Doomblade.
Yeah.
In Magic. It kills something.
It's just a really expensive one.
Yeah. 4 is really expensive. 3, I could see this for 3. It kills, 95% of allies that get played, right? And it gets around damage prevention.
Sure.
And things like that, which is what I really like. It gets around stealth.
I'm giving this a 2 because we've already seen, like, in previous metas, Focus Flames is a pretty much play this card, kill any ally card, and it barely ever got stopped, and still not a lot of decks played that card. And this card costs more.
Sure.
And I'm giving it a 2. I think that this card can obviously get better over time, but currently, that's where I'm putting it.
Sure. It doesn't replace itself or anything. It's
just too expensive.
Yeah.
It's too expensive for, like, what is that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would need more. Like, I would need a card that also is getting bonus from you playing a mage spell or something like that.
Sure.
You know, like in fire. But I see it as a 2 of in a deck, like a 1 or a 2, almost like a Disintegrate was, in terms of if there is there's going to be some strong ally deck.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be a strong ally deck that is playing decently size-bodied units. And that's where this is like, all right, I have to put like 2 in just because it's annoying or it's like sideboarded. But if I'm saying this, I kind of feel like I'm talking it down. So
I feel like if it was in water, I'd be giving it a much higher rating. But fire just already has enough cards like this.
Sure.
And I don't think that the requirements that this is killing is worth the cost that it's giving you.
Yeah, I'm trying to like think of things that it kills that Focus Flames doesn't kill.
Exactly.
And really, other than stuff out of Tamer, which I'm not too scared of, the only thing that really comes to mind that's relevant, and it's not even relevant yet, would be Lancelot, which is your level 2+.
And like, granted, this card is harder to stop than something dealing spell damage, but spell damage is already fairly hard enough to stop. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's definitely, its effect is absolutely better than Focus Flames.
Sure.
But for the cost that it yields, it's not.
Sure.
Not yet.
Yeah, I give it a 2.
I'll be nice and give it 3, but hey, we round, so it'll be 2 as a start. Next one, we have Explosive Fractal. Fantasia Cleric. Fractal 3 cost. Class bonus and memory 4+. On enter, deal 2 damage to target champion, and then has reservable. I don't know.
Did we talk about this on?
We did.
Yeah, okay.
If it said unit, if it didn't say champion, if it said unit, I'd be all in on this card.
Yeah.
And saying this is really solid. It says only champion.
This is meant to be played in a cleric
aggressive
deck. And
it's so weird because it's memory 4+.
Yeah.
So it means you're playing in a deck that wants to get all those effect. And having a fractal in those decks is weird.
It needs to essentially be the second card you play on a turn.
Yeah.
And
I guess you just got to kind of think of it in that world like it's a burn spell.
Yeah.
And so like
3 cost deal.
It's kind of an expensive one.
Yeah, but it does. It kind of replaces itself.
Sure.
It's not great.
Yeah.
It's not getting a 4-star from me.
No.
It's not getting a 3-star from me. I think it's going to be a very, very fringe deck that plays this. Maybe just one aggressive cleric deck that trickles its way into a day 2 at a big event.
Right.
It's a 2.
It's a 2 because I feel like this is you saying I'm going to play aggro, but it's going to be pretty slow.
Yeah.
It's going to be a mid-range aggro. And I don't think it's strong
like
enough.
the idea that it's going to help split. You know, like Fire Xander splits the damage really well.
Yeah.
But like Fire Lorraine has a lot harder time with that.
Yeah.
So if someone can stop attack damage, this is a way that we can add a little bit of damage from non-attacks, but it's still not great. So I'm sticking with the 2 for sure.
Next card, Fanatical Devotee. We saw this card pretty early on as well. So ally cleric Tamer automaton with reserve cost 3 and 2 power and 2 life. Memory 4+. Fanatical Devotee gets +1 attack. Class bonus on death, you may banish 2 other fire element cards from your graveyard. When you do, deal 3 damage to target champion. A lot of text.
This card's good. if there is an aggro cleric deck, this is a 4-0.
Yeah.
Like, this deck does everything you want.
Yeah.
It hits, if you remember...
There is an aggro Tamer deck.
Yeah. If there is an aggro Tamer deck as well, this card's dope. If you can hit that, if you hit both of these, like, if you're able to hit the memory +4 and swing for 3, and then they feel like they have to deal with this card, or else they're going to keep getting hit for 3, and then you just get to go 3 more to your face. Like, that's 6 damage from what for 3 is a lot.
Yeah.
So if you think about it that way, this card's pretty nutty. I think any aggressive cleric Tamer deck that's playing, because this isn't going to be a card you play in like control.
No, for sure.
So it's not all clerics, it's not all fire decks. So I'm not going to give it a 4, but it is a very strong 3.
I'm
for
giving
me.
this a 4.
Yeah.
I'm giving it 3.
Yeah.
I like the card a lot. For all the reasons you said, Terry.
It's a good card.
Yeah.
It's a very good card.
All right. Fiery Duelist. Ally Ranger Human 3 cost 1/1. Class bonus range 2. You may discard, on enter, you may discard a fire element card. If you do, draw a card, and Fiery Duelist becomes distant. So again, one of those self-distant with range cards that we see.
I kind of like that it's on enter is the hasty messenger effect with the, well, I guess more cemetery sentry,
Yeah.
which is like that discard a fire, draw a card. But I love that it also gives itself distant. So it is a cycle. It doesn't replace itself. And that's, you have to discard another card. But it's a 3 damage, because I don't think you play this card unless you're using the on enter ability.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
So
Yeah.
it's always going to swing for 3. So a 3/1 for 3 that does a hasty effect one time and then probably dies is fine, but
Blitz Mage barely saw play, right?
Yeah.
It had to be in a really specific deck. And this is essentially a Blitz Mage that doesn't have the staying power of Blitz Mage, because next turn it would be 1. But Blitz Mage really didn't stick around anyways. But it has the Cemetery Sentry effect,
Yeah.
which is currently on a 4-cost 2/2 body,
Yeah.
but still didn't see much play.
Yeah.
So it's kind of mixing those two.
this card is, I'm pretty sure I've already talked with you guys about this, or maybe even not at Patreon. This is a freaking Erupting Rhapsody
Yes.
wet
Yeah,
dream
yeah,
card,
yeah.
dude. Like,
This is what you would want to play in Ranger Erupting.
Yeah.
It's, if Ranger Erupting's a thing, you're going to see this
Even
card.
non-Ranger Erupting, maybe just in some kind of Erupting, you might still see it because it's cheaper than
Cemetery.
Cemetery.
So you can play 2 cards in one turn. You can do this and sack it.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Yeah, being able to do this and creation it is much better.
Which is honestly,
If you have
that's strong
7
enough.
If you have
But
7 cards, can you? No, you're 1 short. You have to have 8 cards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
But
8 cards is
it's
not
like the
very
typical
hard to
number
do,
you have.
and yeah.
I'm
I'm giving it a 3.
I'm going to give it a 2.
Wow.
Because I think it's only going to be in like 1
Yeah.
deck.
I think I'm going to give it a 3 because I can definitely see Ranger Erupting being a very strong deck,
Sure.
and not even Fringe per se. Next card we have is Fiery Warcry. 2 cost, slow, action, guardian skill. Draw a card, then discard a card. Class bonus, you may banish a fire element card from your graveyard. When you do, target ally loses taunt and intercept until the end of turn.
This card's cool.
This is really cool.
Very cool card.
It's funny because this makes me think you want to play almost like an Erupting deck a little bit
Sure.
in some cases. It's not, you don't have to use like that
I
at all.
think you will see this in Erupting decks. Not even if it's Guardian, just like
But
potentially for what it does.
a Guardian, almost like Erupting deck, it's funny because you can't use Rending or what's the other one? Fire Momentum. But you can use like Devastating. But that doesn't pump up your power for drawing and discard, like the whole draw and discard thing for fire. But I don't know.
I will say that the way that it is worded makes it much better than it could be.
You know-
the fact that you draw a card first and then discard is a huge power buff than having to discard a card first, then draw a card.
You may banish a fire element card from your graveyard.
It's a baby creative shock with upside. With a little, like you're not drawing 2 and discarding 1. So I mean, it's hard to say that.
Yeah.
You're not.
Yeah.
You are losing a card, but in its place, you are dealing with a taunt or an intercept.
I mean, it's a hasty messenger that instead of a body, you're
They
getting...
can have as many taunt and intercept. Wait, when you do target ally loses taunt and intercept, so they can have both, which is weird if they had both, but it's not impossible.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I think it's...
You'll see it in very aggressive decks. It is a way to deal with that pesky Stalwart Shieldmate. It's a way to deal with Majestic Spirit in some way or shape or form. You know, it's like...
I'm giving it a 2.
I'm giving it a 2.
It's definitely a 2. It is definitely a fringe card, but I see its power. I see what it can do.
It needed a little bit, just slight more. I think if it was just slight more, it would be honestly, they didn't intend for this. It'd be so much stronger, but because of how Fractal's Lantern turned out, right? They didn't, for people to know, that interaction wasn't supposed to happen. So we always think about that kind of stuff and be like, oh, it's this. But I'm sure when they first created this card, that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Because they did say they missed that. But so in those standards, I'd be like, yeah, it probably actually is a 3 because I could definitely see it more. Yeah, because you can get that effect guaranteed, but almost guaranteed. Next card we have is Fireblooded Oath, which is a 5-cost slow action guardian spell. Class bonus: the card costs 2 less to activate, so it costs 3. If you're guardian, as an additional cost to activate this card, banish 3 fire element cards from your graveyard. Level up your champion at the beginning of the next end phase. De-level your champion. Really cool card. You can do stuff where you level up and then you force a different type of de-level, and then you would still de-level again. So you go back all the way down to level 1 if you want to.
It's one of the coolest Grand Archive cards they made.
Yeah.
Card is pretty nutty. I haven't figured out how to like really abuse it other than utilizing it as like assassin.
Yeah, there will be
Xander Kurhaz
a broken
pretty cool
combination with this card.
Eventually, at some point.
There's going to be some stupid broken combination with Fireblooded.
Yeah, the ability screams break me.
Yeah.
The ability screams, hey, this is combo. Like
this will go on a watch list eventually.
100%. I agree with you. As of right now, 2. I don't think this is something I'm going to play in most fire
I'm giving
decks.
it a 3 just because I'm so hopeful that it's actually good, but realistically it's probably a 2.
Again, the whole banish 3 fire element cards too. So if this ever became a deck, that's really strong. Everyone's like, all right, Fractal's Lantern then.
Yeah. I will say, like, even though I'm giving it a 3, it's one of the last super rares I want to pull from my boxes.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it, I wish.
You should give it a 2.
I'm giving it a 2.
Yeah.
I wish it was like a 4.
Yeah.
Next card. Cabin's favorite. Fire-tuned Automaton, which is a 2-cost 3/1 ally guardian automaton. As an additional card to activate this card, discard a fire element card. So it doesn't have to be from your graveyard.
As an additional cost.
Additional cost, yeah. Class bonus, floating memory. So there's a 2-cost 3/1, which is one of the strongest the highest powered 2 costs we've seen that just has innate power of 3. And an additional cost, you discard a fire element card, so it won't get turned off from Lantern. So you can play this still. And then has floating memory. It's really easy to kill, but if they kill it, you're pretty happy because it has floating memory if you're guardian.
I give this a 4.
Yeah.
I think this card's really strong.
I'm still going to give it a 3. Oh, we talked about this in our
Patreon.
Mm-hmm. It will be in the aggressive guardian deck.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm giving it 3. But it's not in every fire deck.
Nope.
I definitely am on the 3 train. I think that it's better in Guardian. I think in a Guardian it's a 4.
Yep.
I think that in decks that don't get that bonus, it could still be good, especially with some cards that we are going to see here shortly that make us want to get our hand size down.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, 3 attack for 2 is a lot. I'll give it a 3.
Yeah. It's a really good card.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful card.
3 rating from us is not bad.
It's odd though because it almost costs 3, right?
Yeah.
Because you
get rid of a card.
Yeah.
But hopefully that's fueling other stuff. So another card we have is Fireworks Display, which is a 3-cost fast action ranger skill. Deal 1 damage to all units target player controls. Until the end of turn, if a unit that player controls would die, banish it instead. Really interesting card.
Mm-hmm.
There's very few cards that we've seen that just instantly go to banishment. By the way, if something goes to banishment, it will not get its on-death effect. That's a very important thing to note.
Yep.
So Library Witches, if this is used against a Library Witch, they will not draw. This is all dependent upon how much wide boards, because the wider the board, the less damage they are, or so the less health and like statted they are. And I feel like that's where this card shines and is insane.
It's also really nice to think about in a Polcock deck. You just swing with your gun, then you play this. It's the only card you played for this turn, and you've now done a 3 damage board wipe, which is much more impactful than a 2 damage board wipe.
Yeah.
Yep. I was gonna say this card's nuts in Polcock. That was basically my comment. Yep. Everything else. If we ever have a world where 1/1 tokens are the absolute bane of the format, and just the best deck is a Tony token gen deck, then this card's very good because it just kills the whole board, right? It doesn't matter that they're banished, but it's a way to do 1 damage across the board like this, right? So any kind of cleave effect in my book gets at least a 3.
Yeah.
And this one particularly, I don't think you'll see in like all the fire decks. I'm going to give it a 3. I'm going to stick at that.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 3 as well.
Any cleave effect is a 3 in my book because we do not have a lot of ways to board wipe.
Yeah,
for sure. All right, next card, which is Flame Blessed Trainee. 2 cost 1/2 ally cleric human. Class bonus on attack. If Flame Blessed Trainee is attacking an ally, you may discard a fire element card. If you do, this attack gets +3. So it can be a 2 cost 4/2 when attacking an ally. This is what we've talked about a lot of times with a lot of cards, which is a kill spell on a stick. This is like kill a ally specifically on a stick. And if you're trying to get your hand low with fire cards and in fire, this is a very solid card for like removal. It is playing like a weird. Like, I feel like if I'm going aggressive...
You're probably not using this.
Yeah, right. That's the weird thing.
This is like a really solid, like, mid-range trade or control. I want to put my floating memory into my yard to level up, but I'm also need to kill that Gildas or that whatever.
Ace and Protect. Yeah, I see this as a way to take down... It's like a Blazing Bowman almost, but like a little cheaper, but costs you a lot of resources.
Yeah. It's a little cheap. It actually...
Yeah, it's actually not cheaper because you have to have another card.
But you think about it, right, is I would much rather be putting a card into my graveyard than putting one into banishment. Right. So I definitely see its use.
Yeah.
And...
Well, so what was Embertail Squirrel?
Yep, it's pretty much the same thing.
Okay.
It's actually exactly the same thing.
Other than the health and stats.
But it doesn't have to be attacking a unit. Or, sorry, an ally. It can attack a unit. Yeah.
And how much Embertail Squirrel did we see?
Well, how much Sylvie did we see? That's the real question. Because every time I built a Fire Sylvie deck, Embertail
it was
Squirrel
playing Embertail Squirrel.
I'd give this, honestly, like a 2. Yeah.
Same.
I'll give it 2.
I think it's going to definitely be played in a deck, but it's not going to be in many.
Cool art. Oh, I think next card we have is Forge Light Shield Maiden, which is a 3 cost 1/2 ally guardian human with Foster. On Foster, draw 2 cards, then discard a card. Class bonus, if a fire element card was discarded, put a buff counter on Forge Light Shield Maiden, so it becomes a 3 cost 2/3. So it has on Foster play Creative Shock almost in a way. Which is really strong.
Play Creative Shock that leaves you a 2/3 body on the board, which is the stat line for a 3-drop.
Yeah. It's a kill on sight card.
Yeah.
Yes.
And leveling up to level 1 Tony, then slamming 1 or God forbid 2 of these. If you have a way to do it.
Yeah.
Dude, like that's pretty brutal if they don't have a way to deal with them.
I'm giving this a 4 for Fire Guardian.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree. I'm on that same train with you. I could even see it like it only makes sense in Tony because he protects it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But like, man, that card is good enough that if you had a way to protect it, you'd play it in most fire decks, I think. So
it wouldn't get the buff counter, but
that's the hard part too.
Yeah. All right, next is this is a really cool one to me.
Oh yeah, this is kind of the card we were talking about. This card's insane.
Gloam Spire Black Market, which is a 3-cost unique domain, assassin market. Rest this or tap it or whatever you want to say. Each player with influence less than 7 draws a card into the memory. Activate this ability only at slow speed, so only on your main phase of your turn.
You can't do it on your opponent's turn after they've drawn for turn or something like that. Yeah.
Upkeep. At the beginning of your recollection, if your influence, I mean your hand and memory, is 8 or greater, sacrifice Gloam Spire. Most likely you're playing, if the deck that you're playing this in, that shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Because this basically says refuel, give yourself a little more fuel.
It's one of the easiest upkeep costs we've seen on domains.
I'm thinking about this. This is actually really cool if you're playing it even in Tony, going up to level 3.
Yeah.
Because you can kind of start, once you're level 3, you can start using it. Like you don't almost care along the way.
You can use it to level up, and then after you've banished for champion cost, you replace some cards.
I think that this card is bonkers. I think that this card has so much play in all archetypes that are playing fire, depending on what you're trying to do, unless you're erupting. I think it's the only deck that cannot utilize this.
Yeah.
Every other fire deck, doesn't matter if I'm rushing to 3 or if I'm playing aggressive.
Yeah.
This card is very strong.
The only issue I have with this card is I think it will affect your opponent very often too.
Sure.
That's the biggest thing.
I love the turn 1 of this. It's kind of like an increasing danger a little bit, right? It's not quite, but like love the idea of putting a card because their influence will be less.
Yeah.
So they're gonna put one down, but they don't bring it that turn. It's kind of cool. This and increasing on one turn. Come on, bro.
It's cool to see that it's also at the beginning of Recollection, which is a big deal. Like, not it'd be weird if they say like after draw phase or something like that, because you can still have 7 cards in hand, like passing, or 7 influence, which is a very common number to have in general, and then draw for turn, and you're still fine.
Yeah. I give it a 3.
It's scary.
Giving
your opponent cards is really scary. So I'm going to give it a 3 as well. And this is one of those cards that it needs testing. You need to test this card. Like, you can't not test the card.
That card to me it's hard. I want to give it a 4 so bad.
Yeah.
I think that card is nuts, but I'll give it a 3 to be safe. But man, I think that card was a mistake. I think that card is going to do things that nobody wants it to be able to do. So.
Next card we have is Enali Unshackled Blaze, which is a 3-cost 1/4 unique ally cleric automaton. Class bonus. On attack, you may banish a fire element card from your graveyard. If you do, deal 1 damage to each other unit.
Including your own champion.
Correct. Level 3+ and memory 4+, it gets +2 attack. This is a really well-statted card once you're level 3, obviously, for sure. And if someone isn't respecting, again, that fire graveyard stuff, it's kind of crazy. Like, having a board clear on a unit, or sorry, not necessarily board clear, but you know what I mean? Having a thing that helps just hit everything on board can be very strong.
Yeah, I mean, late game being a 3/4 for 3 that enters and does 1 damage to everything, as long as you can hit all the requirements. It's pretty strong because it kills everything, right? Like, it kills most allies by itself if it needs to. Sure, maybe the 1 damage isn't going to kill a bunch of 2/3s, but if they have, like, I don't know, a Phalanx Captain or something, and you're able to do 1 to it and then smack it with the 3/4 body, kind of cool. Not crazy. It has a lot. I think what is the bummer about this card, and we've seen a lot, and we've talked about this already in other videos, of how many unique allies are so good from DOA, but like they don't see any play because they're just not good enough. They're not fast enough. They're not efficient enough. This is one of those cards. It has so many requirements. It has a great body. It's a 1/4 for 3, but like all the requirements you have to hit make it pretty tough. And I feel like I'd much rather just play another card for 3.
Little chip damage adds up in this game a lot. I mean, that's why we saw we were just talking about that one of the first fire cards, the Regalia that might deal 2 unpreventable damage. Like, it's a big deal. So hurting yourself or hurting not necessarily your units, that's not a big deal because they'll re-heal at the end of your turn or whatever. But to yourself, it actually does come up. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3.
I'm going to give it a 2.
Okay. I think there's a deck that plays it, and it'll be strong.
I'll give it a 2. My biggest thing is I don't think level 3 cleric decks are going to really play that card.
Yeah.
And it's locked behind a level 3.
Yeah. Crystal Empowerment, baby.
I know, but we know that's getting banned. We know that's getting banned. We know that's getting banned.
All right, next card. Okay, I've been thinking about this card so much, so I'm glad we're going to talk about it right now because it's Lava Heated Brew, which is a 2-cost slow action cleric skill. Draw a card, then discard a card. If you didn't discard a potion item card, deal 3 damage to your champion, and then class bonus floating memory. So I really akin this. Why I was thinking about it is it's very similar if you think about 2 creative.
Yes, it is.
So you're drawing a card, then you're discarding a card. So it's just a cycle, but you're gaining floating memory if you're playing cleric, which is similar to gaining a card and netting even if you're leveling up, which is what Creative Shock, the whole point of Creative Shock really is in all of those decks. It replaces itself, so you're netting even when you play it. The fact that you have to discard a potion, and if you don't, you deal 3 damage to your champion,
It's pretty rough.
It's pretty rough. I don't know how much a potion cleric. Like, I feel like you have to run a lot of potions. If
Sure.
You're running
This is
a card.
also slow, which is a much worse part of Creative Shock.
Huge thing, importance there. I thought if this was fast, I'm like, I could see it.
Yeah. I mean, Creative Shock is on the watch list for a reason, right?
I don't think we need to talk about this card much.
Okay.
I'm going to give it a 1.
You're giving it a 1.
Wow.
I'm giving it a 2.
I'm giving it a 3.
Oh, wow.
I think this card is just so ridiculous. I think there's so many better ways to draw and discard. Like, I'd rather just play the Guardian one at that point.
Gotcha.
Like, I'll draw a card and discard a card. That's fine. I love that. But, like, the fact that I'm most likely going to shoot myself in the face for 3, if there's a deck that wants to hurt itself or to get themselves to, like, some, like, there's a reason, right? Like, some, like, Berserk ability eventually or something where, like, hurting yourself gives you a buff, then this card's nuts. But, like, I think in a world where little chip damage adds up, shooting myself for 3, that's like getting hit. That's like getting hit with a Ace Protector.
Yeah.
It is in the cleric range though. Like
It
you're
is.
probably playing it in a cleric deck, which is probably healing a lot.
Sure.
How, if you're playing Innovate Fury, the requirement to that is you have to have taken 5 damage.
Yeah.
Kind of cool in that.
Yeah, there's some stuff with that.
If there's reason to hurt yourself, then maybe a 2.
Yeah.
And I think that you could see it get some play, but I just think there's so much better stuff you want to be doing than this card. So
You don't give out 1s very often.
No, I don't. That's why I'll give it a 2, actually, because the more we talk about it, the more we're like, yo, you can hurt yourself and activate some other things. Like, I get it. Like, it could see some play, but honestly, I would much like just play Creative Shock, bro. Like, I'll just play Creative Shock in any fire deck I'm playing.
But the thing is that this can also be a floating memory in itself.
Sure.
Draw a card, take 3, but you discard a, I don't know, not Flame Rune Swordsman, but some floating memory card, right?
Yeah, so it could potentially
It could be 2.
It could potentially
Exactly.
be.
Like I said, it's like Creative Shock. So would we play a worse Creative Shock?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'm giving it a 2.
If we're really trying to force that in, I can see it is a nice turbo level card.
Yeah, that's why.
At the cost of hurting yourself.
Sure.
So it just depends on the meta.
Yeah.
With all that, 2. I'm going to say 2. I could definitely see, though, now the more that you think about it from that aspect of being kind of, if you can discard a floating memory, then the card is much stronger.
Sure.
But if you're discarding like, it's going to put this fire card
But
or
you
whatever,
probably
and
have a
then
lot of
whole
floating
channel
memory if you're...
We'll get a boop.
You're probably running a deck with a lot of floating memory if you're putting this card in as well as Creative Shot. Because obviously you don't play this card if you're not going to play Creative Shot.
Right. It's like a supplement.
So it's like if you're considering putting this card in, you have that floating memory that you need to run.
Yeah, I like that. I can definitely see that.
Next card.
Yeah.
Manic Zealot, which is a 2-cost 1/1 ally assassin automaton. On death, deal 2 damage to each champion.
I love this card.
It's a cool card. And this is one I was thinking in Zali or whatever, it kills this too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is kind of
cool.
cool.
So you're just like there's a stupid combo where you're like putting a bunch of these guys on board, you're killing them all off on your turn, and you're dealing a bunch of damage to them. Like there's like a weird like burst with this.
A burst, yeah.
And you're hurting yourself, but hopefully you're doing the calculations where you won't die, but they will.
Yeah.
And I think there's a fun combo with all that. Do not use this with fireworks display. It won't work. The on-death will just...
Yeah.
You're trying to call up your own stuff. It doesn't work. That being said, I think it's a 2.
I think it's a 2.
I can think of one deck that's in, so I'm gonna give it a 2. I can see this being like a 4 of in a deck that's already in my head.
It's not a bad card.
No,
if you're in a situation where that's sitting across from you, you're not going to be excited to see that.
It's 3 damage.
Yeah.
You know, like it's inevitable unless you're gonna banish it. So.
Next card is Meltdown, which is a 4-cost slow action cleric spell. Level 2+, so you don't have to be cleric, just level 2+. This card costs 1 less to activate, so it costs 3. Destroy target domain, item, or weapon.
Yep.
3 cost, destroy a domain, item, or weapon. We've seen Spurn to Ash, which kills a Regalia 1 cost, right? Or lower.
Yep.
Man.
Similar to that.
Domain, item, or weapon.
But doesn't matter the reserve cost of the item, or weapon, or domain. Or material cost.
This is similar, very, very similar to Spurn to Ash.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time that you play this, you're probably going to be killing something that Spurn to Ash could have killed.
Yeah.
But you are also getting that destroy target domain as well.
Yeah.
You're also being able to kill items that were played from the main deck. I'm giving this a 4 because on our scale, it is something that it greatly impacts the meta.
Sure.
As far as vacuum card cost, I'd probably give this more of a 3.
Yeah. You know, again, I think people are not going to play Domain Hate.
Yeah.
And then once they realize they play Domain Hate, this card is going to be put in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the only other one is a norm one. So I'll give it a very strong 3. And I mean by that I mean it's in most decks and you're playing like a 2 of.
Yeah.
And
It's just a spurn.
Yeah,
it
it's
really
just spurn,
is. It's a new spurn.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3.
Yeah.
It's a good card. I think that eventually it'll be in every sideboard. And
Yeah.
like, you're gonna see it.
Oh yeah, for 100%. Next card is Overwhelming Swing, which is a 6 cost, 5 power attack Guardian Hammer. Class bonus, level 2+. Combat damage dealt by this attack is unpreventable.
Oh.
So you go, on your turn, I'm going to spend my entire turn
Yeah.
giving my attack +5, and then you follow it up on your turn with this.
Yeah.
On your opponent's turn, you play the other one. On this turn,
Yeah.
you play yeah.
I mean, sure.
Wow, that's a crazy one.
Yep.
That's a lot of damage.
It's a lot of commitment.
2. I'm giving it 2. I wish it was better.
I think in the decks that could really utilize this, dude,
You're going to level 3.
You're not gonna have 7 cards in your hand to
Yeah.
play it. So yeah, 2 at being
you're
generous.
playing Guardian and you're unpreventable. Just means if they're trying to block stuff, right? And it's level 2+. I'm thinking of Devastating Blow, right?
Yep.
Which is deals 7 damage, so it deals 2 more than this. You have to be level 3 in Guardian or level 3 in Warrior, and you're doing 7. So usually people can block 2 to 3 damage. That's very common.
Sure.
So Devastating.
This gets through spell shields. That's what it's meant to do.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
I don't know.
I also agree with the 2,
But-
maybe a 3, but probably 2.
I'm giving it 2.
Yeah. All right, Rococo. Yes.
Rococo.
Rococo.
Explosive Maven. Unique ally ranger automaton, 1 cost, 1/1. On enter, if your influence is 4 or less, deal 2 damage to target champion. Grandpa always said it's best to have a blast.
Love the flavor.
I
This-
just read it. That's the first time I
This
read
card is why I rated the other card so high, because
it. Which one?
um,
Oh yeah,
the
yeah.
one that
discard.
you discard a card in addition to playing it, because of this card's existence is why I gave that other card so high rating. I'm gonna also give this a 4.
I'm giving this a 4. I think it's easy enough to get your influence down to 4 already. I mean, 2 damage, 3 damage for 1 cost.
1 cost, and it's split
Really good.
between types as well.
Yeah.
So if they go Resolute Stand, you go, okay, I'm still gonna do 4 to you by playing 2 of these or something. Which
Yeah.
playing 2 of these, not very hard to do.
Unique ally, so you will kill off 1.
Yeah, it's fine.
So I'm just
Yeah.
like,
Right.
make people know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's nuts, man. I don't think she'll be in every fire deck.
Sure.
And for that, like,
Yeah.
it's tough to give her the 4, but I want to because I think she's nuts. And in the deck she is in, she's an auto include 4. It's not even a question. Yeah, she's very good. I the highest 3 I can get without crossing to a 4 for her.
Yeah.
Tether in Flame, which is a 3 cost fast action cleric spell reaction. Class bonus, this card costs 2 less, it costs 1 if you're cleric. Negate target card activation unless its controller has Tether in Flames deal 1+ level unpreventable damage to their champion. Such an odd card.
Yeah. I mean, we're seeing a lot of cards trying to push you to aggro cleric.
Yeah.
Like, they are clearly trying to make that an archetype. I don't know if it's going to be good enough.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pay. It only costs 1 though if you're cleric.
If you're cleric. But the issue is, I don't know if the cleric decks that is running this is getting to a high level, right? So it's like, it's interesting in Rye, because Rye, it's like, you're probably not going to take 10 unpreventable damage,
really fun.
but it's costing Rye 3, and is Rye good? Right? Like, you can also do some Fire Merlin or something like that, right? So it's like, this is definitely not locked to just cleric.
Yeah.
Absolutely not locked to them.
Yeah.
So I'm giving it a 3, and I don't know if that, I have literally no idea if that's the right rating.
Sure. Yeah, I'll give it a 3 as well because it's a negate in fire.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is a little like
It's probably one of
if
the...
you try to counter my thing when you're level 1,
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
But like you said, later on,
I mean, even
cleric has a lot of ways to level
herbs,
up.
Just the herbs
With
themselves,
herbs?
Sure,
plus
yep.
1. Yeah, I'll give it a 3.
Nice.
I kind of want to give it a 2. The more I'm thinking about it, it's a good card. It's a weird good card. I'm gonna give it a 2.
Okay.
It's a weird good card. Is this our last one? I don't
think
remember.
so. I think so.
Possibly our last fire card, which is Veteran Blaze Bearer, which is an ally guardian human, which is a 3-cost 2/3. On enter, Veteran Blaze Bearer gets taunt until the beginning of your next turn. Class bonus has Steadfast. 3-cost 2/3, has taunt for a turn, also Steadfast, so it can retaliate even while rested. Or
doesn't rest
also
to retaliate, so it can keep its taunt up.
3-cost 2/3.
That's very good.
Good.
Very standard stats.
Steadfast, really good. Steadfast is amazing.
On enter, give it taunt.
Weird.
Potentially good.
I think it's a good card, but I'm going to give it a 3.
Yeah, it's not going to be in every fire deck
I'll
for sure.
I'll give it a 3.
I'll also give it a 3. I think that's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah.
And
And that's all our fire cards.
wow. So let's see here. We've gone through everything now for you guys other than Norm. I think
than
that's
Norm.
the last one. So
Your special Divine Relic.
yeah,
And
so
Special
if
Divine
if
Relic.
any of those cards look awesome to you, you can either pick them up at our website, or if not, if you are a TCG player, we actually are partnered with TCG Player now, and our affiliate code is below this video. So if you are buying something, it doesn't even have to be GA. Maybe you're a Pokemon player too, trying to pick up some of the new set that's coming out. How about you just click that link, and it lets us get a little bit of a kickback, and it helps us a lot without you having to join our Patreon or do anything
There's
crazy.
no cost to
You
you.
can buy whatever you want.
Yeah.
Just click that link first and then add it to your cart and buy
Yeah.
it, and it helps us out. It's really cool.
Yeah, so thank you guys so much. We'll catch you on the next video, right?
Yep.
So yeah, take it easy.
Peace.